Let the team at Black Hills Information Security test your defenses. With over 10 years of experience in penetration testing, red teaming, and threat hunting, the testers at Black Hills will help you find the holes in your security before the bad guys do. The team at Black Hills cares about educating and sharing their knowledge by creating countless blogs, open source tools, and webcasts for you to learn more about the tradecraft of pen testing and red teaming. Visit securityweekly.com/BHIS to join their mailing list and view the latest blogs and webcasts from Black Hills Information Security. Recorded Future. They help security teams make more confident decisions faster. Recorded Future's technology automates broad collection and analysis of cyber threat data and delivers the rich external context you need to understand alerts and emerging threats. With real-time threat intelligence from Recorded Future, security teams respond to threats 63% faster and find undetected threats 10 times quicker. To get started, go to recordedfuture.com/securityweekly and sign up for the Recorded Future Cyber Data. Every day, you'll receive an email with the top results for trending technical indicators, cyber news, exploited vulnerabilities, suspicious IP addresses, and more. Subscribe today and stay ahead of cyber attacks. Endgame's converged endpoint security platform is transforming security programs. Their people, processes, and technology with the most powerful endpoint protection and simplest user experience, ensuring analysts of any skill level can stop targeted attacks before information theft. Endgame unifies prevention, detection, and threat hunting to stop known and unknown attacker behaviors at scale with a single agent. For more information, visit endgame.com. Welcome, everyone. Welcome back to Paul's Security Weekly. I did have an announcement, which is on my teleprompter, and it's coming up soon. I was filling the lighters in the break, and I got kind of distracted with that. So I didn't advance my teleprompter. Some of you have told us that you're overwhelmed by the amount of content we distribute via our podcast and videos. In an attempt to make that easier, you can go to securityweekly.com/subscribe. Right there at the top, you can join our mailing list, and we're going to work on creating a notification system so that if you tell us you're interested in a topic and we've covered that topic, we will send you an email and/or notification. How about that?
I think that's a great idea. I already signed up for Sex Robot, so.
It is not. We're not going to send you a sex robot, Doug. I'm sorry.
Damn it!
It's not. That's a different show. I would like to introduce our guest for this segment, Merissa Villalobos. She is a talent acquisition leader for NCC Group and also volunteers her time for the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu. I got all that right. I said it all right.
Yeah, I got it all right.
Merissa, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Also, Jessica Gulick is here as well. She also is the VP of the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu. Jessica, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good to be here.
Oh, and I'm sorry. By day, Jessica, you are a growth hacker for a company, Katzcy.
Katzcy.
I knew I was going to mispronounce something. Like, it's bad luck if I don't mispronounce something. Katzcy Consulting, where you help people with digital marketing and growth hacking, which is, we should nerd out like later after the segment or during the segment. Doesn't matter to me.
Sounds good.
That's part of what we do here at Security Weekly. So it's awesome to have you both on the show. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
It's been some time since we've had representatives from your organization on the show, so it's nice to get caught up. And I'd like to start, either one of you or both can kind of just give our audience an overview of the Women's Society of Cyberjutsu. We can say WSC from now on, right? Is that
yes.
Cool? Okay.
Yes.
Or just Cyberjutsu.
Cyberjutsu. Got it. Okay.
Excellent. Well, I'm happy to start. We are a 501c3 charity organization, really aimed at helping women from the ages of middle school through their careers on advancing themselves in their career in technical field of cybersecurity. And Merissa, perhaps you want to add to what you're doing there in your chapter as well.
Sure. I'm on the leadership team for the Southern California chapter. A lot of the things that we do are around hands-on training, technical training, usually around pen testing and forensics, whether it's beginner, intermediate, or advanced level training. We have a lot of meetups. We have social kind of networking mixers, and we try to raise awareness to get more women into the field. We're doing a lot of different events, partnerships with the community. I just finished the application for the San Francisco chapter, so stay tuned because that will be coming soon.
Now, I wasn't aware there was various chapters across the globe, or is it just in the U.S.?
The U.S. It's just the U.S.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, how many chapters do you have across the U.S.?
We're growing. So I think we have around 3 or 4 now. We have 3 or 4 that are currently in application process.
And so in the various chapters, is it exclusive for women when you have these training events? There's a follow-on question to that as well.
It's exclusive for the women in person, but the men can join remote events.
Okay. And the reason
classes.
I say that is the feedback that I've gotten even somewhat recently, and like I get it, right? When you have a hacking event, it's largely attended by men, and the lights, and I've witnessed this firsthand actually just recently, right? The lights are dim, right? There's music playing, and there's basically a room full of guys. And for a woman to walk in, like, I get it. Like, you kind of feel, it kind of like if I accidentally walked in the women's locker room, like, it's probably kind of like a similar thing, right?
That's true, but we have a growing number of women hacking. Part of what we do, even all the way to middle school age, is we help girls and high schoolers and college students and current career women learn how to compete in those competitions.
That's awesome.
It's really exciting.
Yeah, and I think especially when you're first getting into the field, you need to feel comfortable, right, in an event like that. So I think it's great, what you're doing, and helping people, women early on, I think is important too in their careers when they're still in middle school is also very important.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs that have come up over the last few years that have helped to drive that, like Cyber Patriot and things like that. I know my daughter's school is involved in that. And I've seen in the education side just a huge growth in the number of women that are applying to programs that, like my program has a lot more women. And that's a question I get a lot is, how many women are in the program? And used to the answer was, you'd be the first. Yeah, but today, it's like half the room is women. And I get that because I used to have female programmers taking programming classes, and it was the same thing. There's one person sitting there in a room full of men, and I was like, you'll probably be the best programmer in the room. I wouldn't be at all surprised, but it's intimidating, I think, and so I'm glad it's changing.
Yeah.
And so for the in-person events, how if you're a woman who's interested in technology or cybersecurity, how do you get involved to be able to attend some of these meetups?
On our website, there are a list of all of our events around the country. So you can literally go to one of our meetup pages. You can go to our website and sign up. You can also join our Slack channel where we'll announce different events that are going on locally. That's
awesome. And that's free for people to join any of these events and trainings as well?
No, they do cost, and there is a membership fee. Some of our events and some of our activities are free, whether or not you're a member, and others cost a little bit more depending on what they are.
Gotcha.
Can universities and people join? I mean, could my university become a member?
They could, or they could become a chapter lead if it makes sense as well. We're always welcoming that.
I mean, I think that would be great. I mean, we have a cyber club, but it's it would be great to have an organization for the women in our program because I know they're always looking for outlets as well. So that would be cool.
And how do you help women find careers in technology and security? Like, what's the career kind of guidance look like?
So it's a little bit more informal. Obviously, there's networking. Given the community of cybersecurity, you know how it is. It's who you know and what opportunities they have available. So making the connections is a very important piece. The other part of it is we have job postings on the website that many of our sponsors, our corporations come in and they'll post their openings, or they'll have a meet the company event where we invite our community to join. There is mentoring, informal and formal, and some great opportunities from a career standpoint. But it's not always just about the job. It's the confidence and getting the skills that you need to move up the ladder, if you will. So it's not just about job placement. It's about having a venue, a group of peers that you can talk to that have been there, that can kind of advise you on what steps you need to take to make it to that next ladder. And it's funny, a lot of women come up and they're like, I've got this second degree and I've got this, 3 certs and, a good 12 years. Do you think I'm ready for that mid-tier job? And we're like, yeah, way beyond that. Start stretching, start growing. It's a confidence thing in our space. So it's great to have a group of peers that will help you see past yourself and, make you grow.
And so you mentioned that there's chapter leads and there's sponsors. Could you kind of describe the difference in how organizations can get involved independent of an individual?
So we're always looking for corporations to join at the national level, where's where I'm at, or at the regional level, at the chapter level, if you will, where Merissa is involved as well. It really depends on to what extent they want to get involved and what their objectives are. Are they looking just to hire women? Do they want to provide a facility? We're looking for cash donations. We're looking for sponsorship and funding, but we're also looking for equipment. We need things to hack. We need equipment for training for the girls programs, for the women's programs. So there's quite a few different ways to get involved. We also have ways they can contribute as mentors. One of the things we kicked off recently at RSA was She Speaks Security, and we're rolling that out now, which is helping her with her preparation, with her confidence, if you will, prepare to speak at more and more conferences. So that's an excellent way to get involved and mentor a young woman or a woman who wants to learn how to speak or learn how to present to a larger audience. So quite a few opportunities.
And so how do you apply to be a mentor?
Depends on what you're trying to do. If you're wanting to mentor a speaker, for example, there's a different program. If you're wanting to mentor individuals on their career progression, then you reach out through our website and we'll connect you. We're always looking for volunteers and we always have requests that come in.
I think and I want to get both of your take on this. One of the interesting things that someone pointed out to me that I thought was interesting and deserves, in my opinion, more research is that there was a study, and I actually found a study. I'm not sure if it was the study that this person was referring to, but there's a study that shows that at one time in the medical field, doctors were 85% male and 15% female. And what they said was that fast forward, I don't know, however many years, 20 years or whatever, and now it's more likely a 50-50 split. And I did find a reference for that. But have you looked at that and how we could use that as a model in technology? Because some of the statistics point to that the split is pretty much the same today in that 85-15 in the gender roles in technology.
I can honestly say that I've looked into the medical industry as like an indicator for how we can do some of the similar things that they've done, but I'll definitely check it out now. I
thought it was an interesting data point, Jennifer.
So Jessica, and sorry. I actually think, no, it's all right.
I told you I was going to mess it up at some point.
It's interesting. And what I love about it is the trends that are happening currently in cybersecurity, right? For the last, I don't want to say a few decades, it's really about hacking and defense, right? And response. And it's been very more militant kind of communication around the space. And what we're finding as cybersecurity grows, we're talking about motive, we're talking about behavior, we're talking about anticipating, we're talking about investigations and forensics. These are areas that women feel strongly about and they want to contribute. They want to feel like they're part of something. And I think as our space in cybersecurity grows, matures, and diversifies, you're going to see more women and more diversity at large want to be part of this community.
Yeah, absolutely. Diversity is a huge part, I think, of what we need in this field because of, like you said, when you do an investigation that requires you to think creatively and analytically, we need as much diversity as possible, certainly. Now, what's interesting about the study into healthcare is that while the gender divide has been somewhat equaled out, the pay has not. And I'm certain that that's also, you could find statistics that prove that in technology. What can we do and what can others that are listening do to help kind of fix this issue?
The pay gap itself in cybersecurity?
Yeah.
That's interesting. One of the statistics that I was looking at is that there's more women actually leaving the field right now than that are coming in. So we're about 20%, which is higher than we were 4 years ago. But we went for, I want to say 4 or 5 years where we weren't changing at all. And that was because more women were actually leaving the field. Perhaps pay had something to do with it.
Right, right.
There is a study out there that says that women in cybersecurity actually get paid more than women in IT jobs.
Interesting.
Right. And when you look at our membership, I would say a good majority of our membership are what we call boomerangs or crossovers. So these are women that are currently in IT jobs looking to cross over into security or recently crossed over, or they're boomerangs. So they've been at home for a while for whatever reason. They're coming back into the career field, which is why they're coming to our organization, because women like to know that they're ready and they're prepared before they take that next step. So before they put $5,000 down, $10,000 down to the conference or training or education, they want to know they've been exposed to the material and that they're capable. They want that confidence boost before they make the investment. So that's where we come involved.
And that person that has spent time in IT and wants to make the move into security, regardless of background, gender, or whatever, is an extremely valuable resource, because I feel like so many people just want to jump into security. And what we've told them for the past 14 years on this show is, look, you got to understand how this stuff works. You got to understand how to build stuff before you can understand how to break it and defend it.
Right.
Right. I love that you say that, because it's just as important that you know how to break it, that you know how to defend it. And I think that's a critical thing that we believe in, why we're teaching competitions and we're investing in it.
Yeah.
And then be able to communicate what you've done along the process.
Yeah.
Yeah, communication is definitely something that across the board in security sometimes we could use some help with, right? Because I think we tend to get really kind of in the weeds, in the technical weeds. And communication is so important in security, because I think most of the roles that we hold in security require us to talk to developers, senior management, other systems administration teams, external folks such as law enforcement, right? Like the various parties we have to communicate with in security are just staggering. I don't know if it's necessarily like unique to,
and we're like the worst people to do that, because we're like the uber nerds. So
nerds,
we fell into this, and we're like the absolute worst people that, like, you have to deal with every single person and deal with them in a good way. And it's like, wow, I'm like a programmer, man. And, you know, it's
like, I just want to look.
I just want to write code. Leave me alone in the basement.
And
then
like
we're at the board meeting. Yeah, that's why I had to become a consultant, and that's why I can't go into McDonald's.
It's not just communication skills are really important, right? I mean, that's what NCC Group does, and we always say it's really important to make sure your client understands what you did and how it's adding value to the security of their program.
Yeah, but I just get hired to say the emperor has no clothes, so that's like, you know,
true. I mean, that is the definition of a consultant, Doug.
It is. No, I mean, they hire me because everybody else is over there going, I'm worried about the politics and I'll make somebody mad. And I'm like, I don't care. You know, I found my calling.
Well, I was going to say it's a specific type of communication. I mean, I agree that we as a community don't do a good job of communicating, but it's specifically persuasive speech, because in most of our roles where we're trying to communicate something, we're trying to convince somebody to do something different, change behavior, or cut to the chase, spend money, because, you know, whatever the solution is, whether it's more people, resources, training, whatever, there's a monetary cost to it. So it's we're selling something. We're selling solutions. We're selling tools. We're selling fixes. It's the technical term is persuasive speech, and we're not good at it.
No, we aren't.
I would agree with that, but I will say what we've gotten a lot better at as a community is communicating with our peers. Just looking back at the last 10 years, I think there's a hell of a lot more collaboration that's going on. Hackers with hackers, defenders with defenders across organizations, across associations, at conferences. So I think that our tech talk is improving. It's just that exec communication message needs some work.
And going back to like the equal pay, I think that being able to be a better communicator will definitely help you bridge the equal pay gap, because there's a lot of stigma around talking about money, especially if you're going through an interview or if you're asking for the next position or a promotion. So it's a candidate-driven market, right? There's no one company that has the same compensation philosophy is the next company, and then it varies by state and by city and by country. So there's all these variations. So it's being able to understand the data that you have other than just, this is what I was earning, so this is what I want to be making. It's knowing your worth instead of taking, let's say for women, a 30% pay cut just because they were earning less in a previous position. And there have been some legal additions to the Equal Pay Act that have kind of equaled the playing field. So preventing people like myself and HR to ask questions about what are you currently earning, but try not to volunteer that information as well.
Yeah, Merissa, that really resonates with me because, I think we talked about the confidence issue and the communications issues that we all have. Those are two of the critical skills that you need when you go ask for a raise or promotion or what have you.
Or even just to get a job.
You have to be able to be confident enough and have the right communication skills to explain your value to the organization.
Yeah.
And I see it, I suffer this myself, and fortunately I had friends that coached me on it that was like, really, it's all about what value you bring to the organization. All those other things aside. I mean, I've had people come to me over the years that are like, hey, I really, like, I want to make more money because I got student loans. And I'm like, if you want to make more money, you got to be able to be confident enough and have the communication skills to talk about the value you bring to the organization. And it sounds like that's what you're doing at WSC.
Yes.
That's awesome.
We're also doing some interesting stuff coming up, just to kind of break some news, if you will. We have a big announcement coming up on the 16th of April, but I can kind of give you a sneak peek of it. There is a ritual, if you will, where security professionals kind of go to Vegas around August 8th every year for a couple of different conferences. And right smack in the middle of it, we're going to be doing a really special kind of fundraiser, which is called Wicked Six. And we're going to be doing it at the esports arena there, and running a cyber competition at the collegiate level for teams so that we can really experience that almost like an esport. So we're really going to be focusing on the spectator experience, not just the competition itself. So it's going to be a different kind of competition. We're really excited about that. And it speaks directly to what we're talking about here. Whether you're a man or a woman, if you're in competitions, it's very difficult to articulate your skill sets. So what we're going to be doing is taking a look at what is the individual contribution, how does that translate into a player card, if you will, almost like an athletic sport card, their skills and ratings and such, as well as a team, how well are you working together? Just like if you watch different esports, if you're on Twitch, if you're doing any of the streaming of the live games, we're going to be doing the same thing for a live cyber competition. It's going to be a lot of fun.
That's awesome. And so many have tried that. And I have to tell you, I've been involved in some of those competitions, and you're taking a different angle, which I really like. Because in the past, they're like, you need to MC the event. And I'm like, yep, everyone's hunched over their computer and they're typing, and that's really what hacking is, and it's kind of boring, right? So, Jessica, your angle is, I think, something refreshing and new.
Yeah, really excited. So I've done it before, and I know exactly what you're talking about. That's why it's important for us this time, one, to raise funds for hacker camps, summer camps for women and girls, but more importantly, see cybersecurity as a sport, because once we do that, we really start to appreciate the teamwork, the communications, the skills that are really needed. And that's going to be the focus, is the experience. So maybe I'll give you a call. Yeah, we do need a couple of different MCers and a shoutcaster.
They should call me.
I have done that before. Doug has also.
I'm like super narcissistic. I really love attention.
Doug's creativity and imagination is amazing, and Doug would also be very, very good at that.
See how I stepped all over Paul there? He was just I was like, Paul is great.
I sang your praises, Doug.
It's like, look at me.
That's why I love having you on the show, because I just never know what Doug's going to say next.
Me neither.
And when he does, like, I had to think about it. I'm like, what? Jessica, I wanted to ask you, being in the field that you're in digital marketing and growth hacking, and just for background, right, Security Weekly is obviously the interface to the security community, providing knowledge and education through our podcasts. The way we monetize it as a business, so we continue to do that, is we interface with the security industry, largely with the marketing folks in security companies. Do you agree that we don't have as much of the gender ratio issue in digital marketing as we do in technology and programming?
I would go as far as it's probably reversed.
It's probably reversed. I would agree, and that's my experience as well. Now, what I've observed in a very small capacity is people and women in the marketing roles have transitioned into technical roles. Do you think that's a good path for women to get into the field?
Absolutely. I did the opposite. So I've done 20 years in cybersecurity hands-on, done my number of certification and accreditations, came up through the policy route, if you will. But absolutely, when you look at marketing today, it's all digital. It's all about data. It's data analytics. You look at corporations like Motorola, for example, where the CMO is also the CIO, which is very unique. More and more, you're going to see marketing people get into security, and it has to do with what we talked about earlier about how important behaviors and motives are in the digital arena, right? And marketing people know that pretty well. So it's just a matter of, and they know how to affect it, they know how to measure it, and they know where you can tap in to get the data analytics to see what people are doing and why. So you start to blend that into cyber, and it gets really interesting very fast.
And I think that marketing folks, a lot of the ones we work with, right, have gotten the lingo and they understand so much about cybersecurity, and they're like, oh, I'm not technical. And I'm like, but I can have a conversation with you about cybersecurity. You get what I'm talking about versus someone who's not in cybersecurity at all in any capacity. When I talk to some of my neighbors, they have like no idea what I'm talking about at all. But I'm like, you can have a conversation with me, so you should make that transition into a straight cybersecurity role. I think that's a great path.
We make this speech a lot. We have a minor, for people that are majoring in marketing or majoring in other areas that want to pick up, because you don't have to be a C programmer. You just have to know what C is.
Right. That's the disconnect.
I don't have to code it if I can talk to you about it, and that's very important for marketing people, is to understand it if they want to get involved in the field, because it's really difficult to deal with us if you have no idea what we're talking about. So marketing people that wanted to get in that field started taking minors and taking certs and doing that kind of stuff.
You don't have to be a data scientist or a programmer. In cybersecurity, we need all roles, but as we've experienced here at Security Weekly, any role that in a cybersecurity company has to have an understanding of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And we've been fortunate, we're a small company. We spend a lot of time with our folks and we educate them, and our staff is awesome, and it's how much they've learned. I mean, sometimes they teach me lessons about cybersecurity. I'm like, A for the day, you're awesome, right?
I think people can also do the opposite, where they start off in security and then go into marketing and kind of marry the two. So, I mean, even NCC Group, we have a few marketing positions open, and we're looking for specifically that, people who can not necessarily be the pen tester themselves, but who can communicate with pen testers. Because if you're going to be writing or blogging about some of the research that people are doing, you've got to understand what you're writing about.
Yeah, I would say that the best marketing folks that I've worked with do have a certain level of technical skill, right? That there is a certain level that I feel is very important. Jeff?
Yeah, I have a question that I've been noodling. Paul, you mentioned earlier this the study or the observation about the medical community and the number of women that were doctors, and now it's leveled out type of thing. And when we had that conversation a couple weeks ago, I started thinking about that, and I have this question, and I would love to hear your guys' thoughts, because I'm not sure what the answer is, but it's still something I'm kind of curious about. And I'm trying to make it a simple question, but that's not how my brain works. Do you think what we're calling, cybersecurity professionals, whatever, what we're talking about here, do you think that the people that are in the field should be, in terms of demographics, in terms of, men or women, people of color, young or old, however you want to slice it and dice it, do you think it should be pretty much a reflection of the demographics of society as a whole? I don't know what the numbers are. If there's 45% men and 55% women in our population, should those numbers be reflected 45%, 55% in our community? Yes or no? Or are there other factors and influences that go into determining not necessarily how somebody gets into a field, but what makes them good at what they do and what makes them excel? I mean, I'm never going to be a brain surgeon. I'm never going to be a doctor. That's not in me. And I don't know how to unpack that. So, should our industry be reflective of the population, the demographics? That's the first part of the question. And if yes, great. If not, what are the other factors that you think go into what makes somebody good at what they do in our particular little world? I don't have an answer either. So if you don't, that's fine. But
I would say that yes, I think that's the goal for us to meet the demographic of what the general demographic of the country or the world is. But it's more about equal opportunity for those that want it. So knowing that this is the national or the global demographic, can we set goals so that people who want the opportunity could essentially reach the same or equal level? People who don't want the opportunity certainly don't have to take advantage of it, but we want to give the option to those who are interested.
Yeah, I would agree. I don't think it's a matter of a magic number. There's not like, if we hit 50%, then we're doing great. I think it's a matter of opportunity and opening it up so women can enter this field. And that's what we're about. We're not really targeting, try to get as many women as you can fit in this because women are better hackers or something to that degree, or it's really about opportunity. But, I would say that we have found that there are aptitudes that make sense. And that's, women tend to, if you look at competitions itself, they tend to gravitate to solving a problem versus seeing, can I hack you versus defend you? They're not really interested in that. They're interested in the forensics aspect of, why is this happening? And that's when we're trying to talk to women about their interest in cybersecurity and if they're a good fit and stuff like that. That's where it really comes down to. It's not about trying to reach a diversity goal because it's equal to what we currently see in society. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense, and I'm glad you brought that up, because I think part of the question that I'm asking is sort of, very backdoor asking about sort of gender stereotypes and gender roles. In the old days, when I was a child a million years ago, and Doug was a toddler, little boys were expected to, play with cars and trucks and tools, and little girls were supposed to be playing with dolls, and, the men were supposed to be playing doctor, the women were supposed to be playing nurses, that type of stuff. And it just makes me wonder, what are the gender stereotypes that we've sort of built into this industry inadvertently, that we need to sort of address? But also, and I think what you're touching on, which is fascinating, and this is what fascinates me about women moving into this into this field, are what are the things that are different about women between men that are because women are wired differently from men. They have different tendencies. They what you were just describing in terms of problem solving versus more the hunter-gatherer, I want to defeat you, I want to beat you, I want to break into you. What are those types of things that we need to sort of figure out as a community how to help to grow? And I think the question that I thought of earlier that might be a good way to ask the question is simply, Paul described our recent experience being at a conference where the competition room was dark, and there was the thumpy music, and there was a bunch of men hunched over their laptops, and and somebody pointed out that might be a little bit intimidating for a woman to walk into. So my question is, what would be the ideal sort of contest, capture the flag area at a conference, or maybe the question is, how do you build the physical space? What would it look like to appeal for more women to walk in and gravitate into, ooh, I want to get involved with that. I want to do that.
Oh, that was like 5 questions in one.
I like the last question though, because I think it's important. A lot of people that listen to the show are the leaders who are building CTFs for our community. What can they do to make it more inviting to women? I think that's a good question.
Yep.
I think one of the things I would say is defining the mission differently, right? It's not always about red team versus blue team and capture the flag. There are a lot of different elements of cybersecurity that we can build into a competition space that not only to reach women, but would increase the diversity, right? Of not just our age and our ethnic background, but also just diversity of space, if you will. If we want more gamers to come in versus more administrators, IT administrators. So mission competition development is key, right? Women don't tend to, from what we can see in the data, women don't tend to really care, can you hack me faster than I can hack you? That's not a competition they want to play in. They do like more of the CSI kind of thing. They want to look at where did you attack me and why, and how can I find you, and how can I, figure this problem solving kind of thing out. So that's one of it. Dark rooms are not. I think dark rooms are cool. They don't scare me so much as a woman. I don't think that's a play, live, fast music and stuff. All that's great. I think it has to do with how we market and how we go out and reach in different communities. If you're a CTF out there and you want more women to be involved, reach out to the Women's Society of Cyber Jitsu. We can get your message in front of a lot of women that hack of all age groups and entice them to come to your conference. So I think marketing is key, mission is key. Words matter. So, what's the objective and why are we doing this? And the incentive matters. I got to tell you, women like to brag sometimes, but that's not an incentive to us. If you want to put an incentive that I'm actually doing something and perhaps the winning, I get to choose which cause it goes to, or there's a great prize, that incentivizes me. But the other thing is that, and this is something that we struggle with a lot of times in cybersecurity careers, women like flexibility. So do men, quite frankly. We like flexibility. So if what you're asking for me is to take off work to spend a work day 100% at a competition, that's not really going to work for me. Right? One, I've got my job to do and I fight hard for my career. 2, if you're going to go at night, well, I might have family responsibilities that I need to work with. So timing is important as well. When we do our workshops and our networking, it tends to be early in the evening so you can get home to your family and do your thing. Or we do our competitions and our study groups on Saturday morning. Timing matters. So I think it's playing to your audience. And I talk way too much.
I like the aspect of marketing, Jessica, because it's interesting. My wife works in diagnostic imaging, right? And she got into that field because she wanted to help people, and she had this great analytic technical skill of being able to find problems. And like, that's the same skills we need in cybersecurity. So if, to your point, if we had marketed differently, would my wife be in cybersecurity rather than the medical field? And I don't think that's a difference between men and women. That's a difference in how we market our fields. Yeah. I had never considered that before. That was awesome.
My wife's the same way. My wife's a CPA. And she was interested in computers, but she was sort of put off by the whole computer thing. And she went into accounting, which was, it's just like Jeff and I always say, it was a while ago.
That's why I stole Sam, because Sam was in accounting. I'm like, you need to be in cybersecurity.
And I mean, my wife's like the master analytics person.
Just one reason why.
I mean, if you put my wife on something, it would be over.
Right.
I mean, if you were just like, figure this out, it would be like, okay, we won't sleep again until the answer to this question is known. I will uncover the truth, and you will, and it would happen. And if she was doing cybersecurity, I would be afraid for the world. I mean, but
hopefully should be on the
well, if she was on the white hat side, it would be fine. Yeah, but yeah,
we don't want people like that to go to the black hat side.
Oh yeah, well,
bad.
Maybe she would go to the black hat side. I don't know. But then we'd be rich, and I would be on an island. Yeah, I kind of like that idea.
No, that's some.
I could be a pool boy or something. Hello.
I tell you what, though, staying home with the kids is the hardest job ever. Because I've done stints of that, and I'm like, that is way harder than my job. I'm sorry. And my wife will say it, too. She's like, that's the hardest job I have to hold.
Yeah, I did it. It was
staying home with the kids.
I mean, I didn't stay home with it, but I mean, I did my share. We you know.
It's hard, dude.
Mm-hmm. It's like, play with me. Like, that's how my daughter. That's how my daughter learned all the lyrics to all the Rocky Horror songs, because she wanted to play like we built a stage and she wanted to act out like stuff, and I knew all the lyrics to the Rocky Horror Picture Show, so she knew them all. That's
a great cultural experience, though.
Yeah, but when she goes to kindergarten singing "Touch it, touch it, touch it, touch me," you know, I'm like, oh, we're in trouble now.
Yeah, but your daughter turned out good, so we're all good.
Yeah, she hasn't. Yeah, so far. I'm checking the news right now.
You have no neck.
Sorry, somebody said something in my head that was funny.
So,
was Jeff said that? I wasn't sure who said that. It was Jeff. I'm sorry. Okay.
Jessica.
I see you
Merissa.
shiver with anticipation.
Oh, we haven't had a Rocky Horror Picture Show reference on the show in quite some time.
Okay, we're gonna have Rocky Horror Picture Show dress-up night on Security Weekly.
Okay, no, but Jessica, Merissa, closing thoughts, calls to action for the community. If you're a woman that wants to get involved with technology or cybersecurity, or you're looking for sponsors, obviously visit the website, but closing thoughts.
So visit our website. Check us out on wicked6.com. We have a splash page up right now. Wait till April 16th. We'll be coming out with all the news about this competition coming up. And, you know, we're actively looking for volunteers, donations, and whether it's equipment or cash, sponsors, and new members. We're trying to grow this organization, so we're looking for chapter leads all over the nation.
Oh, I had a quick question. When you're looking for mentors, men and women, or just women?
Men and women. Same thing with our instructors, men and women.
And all the other
genders,
variants. Okay.
Yes. And Wicked 6 is going to be a co-ed competition. It's not just women. It's to raise funding for WSC, but it is a co-ed competition.
Fantastic. Cool. Merissa and Jessica, thank you so much for appearing on Paul's Security Weekly.
Thank you for having us.
With that, we'll take a short break and come back with the news for this week. Stay tuned.
Cool.
I just sent you 3 people.